to discuss what a potential Biden exit means for your money. Yahoo Finance's very own Rick Newman is here. Rick, I mean, you just heard our previous guest, John McClain, talking about how the economy is strong right now. And the Biden campaign and the administration has been trying to continue to communicate that, but it's had little success as inflation is all the talk of the barbecue, it seems, over the summer.
Well, Biden, of course, hopes that will maybe not be the topic so much at the Labor Day barbecues in September because the inflation outlook has been improving. And I think what Biden needs voters to do is just stop worrying so much about the price increases they've seen over the last 3 years. That's mostly been at the grocery store. People who rent have seen it in their rents going up. And of course, gasoline prices. So all these things are going in the right direction for Biden, Brad. I think it's just, assuming he stays in the race, I think it's just kind of a race against time for him over the next 4.5 months. Is inflation going to improve enough so that within the weeks prior to Election Day in November, that's not the main thing people are talking about? And he can't jawbone this away. It just has to be something that consumers start to feel better about organically.
And so, Rick, for the internal workings of the Democratic Party right now, Biden putting this letter directly to those members of Congress who are pushing for him to step back or step aside and allow someone else to really carry the mantle. What are we expecting to actually net out here?
Well, President Biden is going to insist he is staying in the race until the very second that he changes his mind. I mean, the moment Biden says, well, maybe I will withdraw, I'm going to give it some thought, he's dead in the water the moment he says that. He might be dead in the water anyway, but he's got to, he's got to be in it to win it until he decides otherwise. So for everybody who hears Biden saying, I'm not going anywhere, he has to say that. I think really the thing to watch at this point is, do we see mounting calls from even more Democrats, and especially the name brand Democrats whose names ordinary people might know? That would be Chuck Schumer, the Senate Majority Leader, and Hakeem Jeffries, the House Minority Leader. So he's the top Democrat in the House. They have not said anything publicly suggesting Biden should withdraw. They have been a little bit on the fence. Some of these people, Nancy Pelosi, for example, former House Speaker, she said, well, what voters need to know about Biden was what everybody saw on the debate on June 27th. Was that an episode or a condition? That's a pretty good way to think about it. In other words, was it just a one-time thing, or is Biden just foggy on kind of a regular basis? So watch for more prominent Democrats coming out and saying he needs to go. That would tell you which direction this is headed.
Would a Biden withdrawal affect financial markets?
Investors are really scratching their heads over this because markets are beginning to price in what seem to be the probabilities of either a Trump Republican victory or a Biden Democratic victory. So markets are trying to figure out, well, if Biden's not the guy, if it's somebody else, the two questions to ask there. Number one, does it change the probability for one party or the other? Would it make Democrats Would it give Democrats a better shot than if Biden stays in, or a worse shot if it's somebody who might seem like an even weaker candidate? That's number one. And then once markets digest that, they have to figure out, what about specific policies that we have to care about? And there's a lot to care about here. One of them is tax policy. There's going to be a big difference between what Democrats and Republicans do when all of the individual tax cuts from 2017 expire at the end of 2025. So something has to happen there. And then Trump has these couple of wild card things, which is, mostly tariffs. And he wants to go around finding illegal immigrants and throw them out of the country, this mass deportation thing, which would have economic implications. So there's a lot here for markets to digest, Brad. I think we're seeing small movements now, and I think we're going to see bigger movements in markets with regard to stocks and also interest rates. Betting on inflation going up or down after the election. We're going to see more knee-jerkiness once we get within a month or two of the election.
Just lastly, while we have you here, because you triggered another thought here for us too. Say some of our viewers are part of the text listserv, and they get these texts from either campaign, whether it be from Biden, whether it be from Trump, and they donate this money. And in this specific case with Biden, what happens to that money that they did donate?
Well, if you're a billionaire who has given $10 million to some super PAC, you should call up whoever's running the super PAC and say, hey, I want to know what happens to my money. Most people are not giving $10 million, but a lot of people are giving $20, $50. So those small donations, they don't go to super PACs. They go to the political campaign, the Biden-Harris campaign fund. And what happens to that money depends on if Biden withdraws, who takes over. If Kamala Harris, the vice president, takes over and she becomes the nominee, then all of the money, including all the small dollar donations that are in the Biden-Harris campaign committee, she gets control of that because she is listed as a part of that committee. If it is not Kamala Harris, then that money could go to other uses. It becomes what's known as excess funds. It could go to the Democratic National Committee. It could go to other political committees. It would stay within the Democratic universe. And just important to point out for anybody who's wondering, Joe Biden cannot convert any of that money to personal use. He can have a say in what other political causes that money might go to. But if Kamala Harris becomes the nominee, then she would basically get it all.
All right, Rick Newman, thanks so much. An extended Rick Newman hit here on the day, covering a wide range of topics, all surrounding what's taking place with President Biden right now. Thanks so much, Rick.